Hello, and welcome to Dice Punks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week in episode 20, our Nobilis and the Obsidian God's Prophet must navigate treacherous diplomatic waters. Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hello, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Dosktir, the Regal of Nothing, and someone who is both the best and worst possible person for this kind of diplomatic situation.
I'm Robin, and I'll be playing Lissa Crate, Duchess of Fury, who is banged up and not in the way she wants to be.
I'm Dez, and I will be playing Ramnet, the prophet of the Obsidian God, who is clearly of a lower social strata as far as our guests are concerned.
Excellent, thank you. Before we get started, though, let's briefly recap any character stat growth, the events of the previous episode, and get Ramnet's customary lore roll. We'll start there.
So we'll start with the lore roll, yeah. Alright, so that is 3 4s.
All right. Take your experience points, sir.
I shall. And then, well, last time. Last time, I arrived for breakfast. Various things had happened before then, but I arrived for breakfast. Evine showed up as well. She seemed to be strong-armed into it by the acolytes, so I'm glad to know that that's not just my own personal predicament. And she seemed to have some manner of bone to pick with me, you know, despite me being the one picking up her slack around Fermata lately. But that all happened, and we had guests, and I learned that some of the attendants of our guests had gone missing overnight. There seemed to be some suspicion of Pasha being involved, although that may have been dispelled by the time that everyone arrived for breakfast. We need to figure out where the eggs come from. And it was all going approximately as well as a fraught diplomatic breakfast, where at least some parties are underslept and some parties are undercaffeinated. Could be going when there were some booming interruptions from the direction of the manifestation, so breakfast was put on hold. Dosk and Lissa and Pasha and I made our way to the manifestation, leaving behind our guests, tended by Evine, we thought, and took the finite but many uncertain stairs down into the manifestation and the heart of the chancel, where Pasha freaked out at the sight of the well. Understandably, I suppose. She's not aligned with the Obsidian God. And Lissa's statue had been beheaded? Sort of, maybe. It tried to bite her, and then the head crumbled away to dust, and a woman came out of the well. It turns out that Lissa can bounce, and there were some fraught physical negotiations, shall we say, between my compatriots and this unknown woman, while I tried to figure out what exactly was going on. I apparently did not specify sufficiently what exactly was, but we dragged her up out of the manifestation, and it turned out that she was Melis, another noble of the Sirthans, who had come without the knowledge of our guests and for unknown and inscrutable purpose, as she refused to explain herself even to her compatriots, which led to Ia interrogating her and then her consumption by sunlight. Evine, by that point, had gone.
And that is pretty much where we rejoin all of our actors in this little drama of the manor house dining table. this session. A couple of little things to get us back in the scene here. There are burned-in handprints where Melis's hands had laid on the wooden dining table of the manor. The spots on the obsidian floor and chair where her feet and rear had rested are just now sort of subsiding in their glow. Lissa, you're probably mostly like light blind currently, like you're blinking away spots. Your face feels kind of tender. Dosk, you are sort of looking over and trying to figure out what's going on. Romnet, you have the advantage of not having biological eyes in the same way that everybody else does. So you were flash blind for less time. You took some of the shock damage that everybody else took, but you were also able to see a little bit better what was going on. I think I mentioned last time this was the brightest thing that had ever been in Fermata by some considerable margin. And in fact, there were in some places chips and cracks in the obsidian walls of the sort of dining hall in your manor. There is a moment of utter silence as this sort of finishes. Ia turning, kind of surveying her handiwork and her audience before, without really another word, turning and going back to her inspection of the remaining attendants who are, well, somewhat suspiciously unfazed by all of this. Before we do anything else, I would like to get a roll from everybody that I'm going to tell you the number of dice, but not what you're actually rolling.
Oh, fun.
Because that's a fun GM trick that I haven't had a chance to bring out just yet.
See, I'm just imagining it in my head that this is like an unnatural check, but we're all pretty hardened to that.
This is a reference, listeners, to the excellent sanity system from Unknown Armies, which maybe someday on this podcast you will get firsthand experience with. So, Dosk, I need 2 dice from you. Lissa,
Yeah.
I need 3 dice from you. And Romnet, I need 6 dice from you.
No matches for Dusk.
No matches for Lissa.
3 9s.
Okay, so that was no matches, and 3 9s. Okay.
Somehow I suspect this was a sense roll.
Yeah.
Perhaps we will find out one
I
day.
think I rolled for empathy.
It's not exactly a revelation, but you're pretty sure that while you can't put your finger on it, there is something fishy going on here. And that if it is a coordinated effort, which you can't be sure of, but if it is, Ia is a better actress than Rouge.
So,
This could be reactions from anybody, or you can just kind of wait to see what they do now.
I mean, I'll be waiting, but I think... Well, we'll get to it when I get to it, but I think I may need to cast a spell.
In character, I probably... this is more for the benefit of the listener, but I take a moment to take it all in. And if I have an instinctual reaction, it's to use my sight to see if, in fact, Melis is gone.
Okay. Very interesting. As is my wont sometimes, especially when you are using miracles that you are not especially well practiced with, I am going to ask for a roll to refine the results. So using the sight is something that you can just do. But for you, Dosk, I would like to get Sense plus Scrutinize, which is 4 dice.
Sure.
Just to see if you can maybe take the extra little step there.
Hold on. I like these dice better. The other ones were not behaving earlier. There we go. That is a pair of 9s.
9s. You can actually sense maybe the word is residue or echo of the miracle that just took place. And you discover it's not something you'd encountered before, but you've also never used the site intentionally on this fresh a miracle. There's sort of a signature to it. You can't really tell what like the shape of the miracle was more than just seeing the effects tells you, but you can actually sort of get something like a fingerprint from it. But like a fingerprint, it just is, and you have to use context to link it up with the invoker of the miracle. So presumably what you have now is sort of a signature for Ia's miracles, which a hypothesis you could test if she does another one in your site. Another thing that you can get from it is a sense of how intense this miracle was. And the answer here is actually pretty intense. Like, you would have to use some miracle points to get to a miracle this intense.
Okay, but no trace of... Okay.
You don't see an invisible Melis or, anybody like tiptoeing away or like glowing footprints that show you that she used the flash blindness to sneak away or anything.
Sneaking
like
out
that.
under the table, sure.
Yeah, you see this miraculous after image, as it were, but without further knowledge or context, you can't use it to divine anything else about the situation other than that, you have this kind of signature on it. Let's go ahead and see if there are any immediate reactions. I know, Ramnet, you had said that you would hold kind of to cast a spell, but...
Well, the thing is that Darkwater Oracle is like Deus Ex Machina, sort of post hoc.
Mm-hmm.
So I will it's cast when needed, and then I describe the vision that led to the preparation that led to the results of the cast. So I suppose this is almost foreshadowing.
So at the moment you are casting this to arm a later explanation for why you have...
No. Allows retroactive preparation for a to-be-declared-upon use threat to vaguely Deus Ex Machina the situation is the summary of the spell that I have on my character sheet.
Understood. And Lissa...
Because you've played games with me before, and you know how.
Indeed.
That's sort of a theme.
Lissa, any particular immediate reaction?
I'm still blind, so I'm probably just going to be rubbing my eyes and blinking, trying to figure out what happened with my vaguely crispy face.
Yeah, not as we established last time, Lissa's most pleasant day she's ever had. So there's this moment where, Dusk, you're scrutinizing this sort of miraculous afterimage. Lissa, you're rubbing your eyes. Ramnet, you are, kind of scrutinizing Ia and Rimush and kind of thinking through your next couple of actions. And there's this small interval of silence as Ia calmly walks back over to the attendants who are silent, not reacting in any particular way. Rimush just basically looks cross, but he's looked cross since he saw Melis. And a sort of sobbing wail rises out of a corner of the room, where upon turning you see that Apatia has kind of huddled up. She is arms around her knees, pulling them to her chest, head kind of down on her kneecaps. She's it's hard to tell if there's anything physically wrong with her as she's curled up, but she's making this kind of halfway between like ugly crying and like angry yelling noise. It does not seem to be words. Ia and Rimush both glance over sharply and then slowly go back to what they were doing. The attendants don't respond at all.
I imagine hearing that, even if my vision is not completely cleared, I'm going to try to make it over to Apatia and ask her if she needs anything. Clearly everything is not okay.
Sure. So you stumble over reactions from either of our other players.
I might be speechless.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm almost speechless, but I probably can't completely help myself and say, so this justice of yours was above all swift, decisive.
Apatia, for her part, when Lissa, you approach her and kind of inquire, her right hand kind of like darts out and clasps kind of where your shoulder and neck meet, which is, like as you crouch down, kind of a reaching up for her, and kind of urges you closer. And she has this sort of like rasping, almost growling whisper. You can see her sharp teeth as she bares them. And as you get closer, you can see that while you look like you maybe forgot to reapply some sunscreen during a day at the beach, kind of on the exposed skin of your face and neck, she looks as though she belly flopped into boiling water.
Oh.
It is quite painful looking, but she seems to take no note of it. She cuts off her cry from before and, pulling you close, murmurs very softly, "Liars!" and then passes out.
Whew. Well, I catch her, and how much is my vision cleared up at this point?
It's kind of like that sensation where whatever you're focusing on is kind of hard to like pin down, but you have enough peripheral vision that you can function. And it's clearing up relatively rapidly, certainly more rapidly than you would have experienced if you were strictly mortal.
Okay. I am going to look over at Hia and Remush and say, excuse me, I have to tend to her for a moment. I'm going to give Dosk a very meaningful look and then scoop up Apatia and leave. And my eyes will linger on where Melis previously was for, like, it clearly finally connects that they just incinerated her at my table. And yeah, the leaving has a very clear sense of I'm just trying to control myself right now.
Okay, all right. I will leave it to a character decision, I guess, how clearly Dosk receives the message here. In the meantime, you have made the comment about their justice being swift, and Remush goes from looking cross to looking like he just bit through a peach pit. And Ia very calmly says, "Our justice is the will of Sirtha," and finishes her inspection of her attendants, turning to you with a very dignified look, but sort of softening a little now that she is, sort of done with all that, and saying, "I am sorry for the disruption. It appears that our remaining attendants are sound for now, though you may understand that we might wish to get them away from such an unpredictable environment as quickly as possible." At this point, Remush sighs and says, "Right, I shall take them back to Sirtha. I have an easier time getting here than you do." Ia nods serenely. By this point, Lissa, you have successfully left the room. Dosk?
having said that I would be only using Darkwater Oracle later, I'm probably actually using Brightwater Oracle,
Mm-hmm.
which does have a 7-minute casting time, but I'm brooding over my coffee.
Indeed. And you're just doing this kind of with your coffee at the table.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
For reference, this spell is, more or less, a clue dispenser. The PCs cast the spell, and the GM gives the clue. That is a direct quote from the book.
So, Dosk, any particular response to... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no.
Any particular response to Ia and or Rimush there?
removing their attendance from this unpredictable environment, I'd probably say, speaking of unpredictability, you may need to excuse me for just a moment as I see to our other guest who was injured.
Ia raises an eyebrow and sort of glances over at the corner where Apatia was and says, "Oh, is that what happened? Yes, certainly." And she gestures Rimush at the attendants and then goes back in the direction of the quarters that you set her up with as the attendants rise from their kneeling position. Lissa, are you taking Apatia anywhere in particular?
Probably, I imagine, either my room or Dosk's room, whichever is furthest from potentially being overheard.
Okay, that's going to be your room. So yeah, you take her to your room, and then I guess, Dosk, you're probably not too far behind.
Yeah.
On the way out the door, I do notice Ramnet brooding over his coffee and ask what he's doing and if he needs help doing it.
I will... You'll probably want me to roll lie or something like that for this.
Sure.
Adam.
I say this quietly,
or
as quietly as I can, given how shaken everybody is. But.
Sure.
Certainly.
I will allow as how I'm just contemplating my coffee, which is strictly not a lie, but...
Yeah, like a lie by omission.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so go ahead and roll Charm plus Lie 5 dice.
Yep. That is a pair of 4s.
Okay. You don't seem to draw any attention from Ia as she leaves, or Rimush as he stays, as you have this exchange. And yeah, presumably Dosk then heads on his way toward Lissa's room. Apatia has sort of come around again in the time that it took to lay her on Lissa's bed. Now, when I described this bed as about 100 square feet previously, I wasn't really exaggerating. If you round to the nearest 10, it's probably 90 or 100 square foot bed. It's quite large. And Apatia, as we've established, is quite small. So she seems very tiny and vulnerable here, which you know she's not from experience. But especially with her skin all blistered. She rouses, though, about the time that Dosk enters the room and bolts up, looking around for a moment, seeing that it's apparently a space containing only the two Nobilis of Mott. She seems to relax a little bit, and she holds up a hand, kind of touches her face some, comes away with lymph from her sort of cracked and blistering skin. And she takes a deep breath and sort of sits in a assumed position in the middle of the bed, and doesn't make any attempt to hide the fact that she's taking a miraculous action here. You can deduce that it is an aspect miracle. She's basically accelerating her healing. And what it ends up leaving her with, she's always been sort of preternaturally kind of unweathered. Very pale, very kind of unmarked, tanned, unlined skin on her face. Now it's the difference between like, sort of new porcelain and porcelain that has hairline cracks through it. You can see where the skin was cracked. There are these, sort of lighter, more, sort of scarred and knotted lines. They're very, very fine, but quite visible. She sort of lets out a breath, and Dusk, and you in particular, can actually take this opportunity to kind of get a look at Apatia's miraculous fingerprint. Although since she's only doing it on herself, it fades pretty quickly. Like, you would probably be able to tell a miracle that Apatia used after the fact, at least if it was intense enough.
In whatever way this slows me down, we can talk about that as it happens, but I probably can't stop myself from doing that now that I know I can do that. Looking for the divine fingerprint of anyone who has one.
I see her healing herself, and I slowly put down my homebrew blacksmith salve and towel that I was already preparing to bring to her. And like just calmly act like, oh yeah, that's definitely not what I was going to do.
I gather myself up and I ask her, does that process leave pain behind? Do you need the negation thereof?
She takes kind of a shuddering breath and she says, I think I shall be fine. I have quite a lot of control over my pain when it is not self-inflicted or, well, my other self-inflicted. But thank you for removing me. I was trying to be, I suppose the word would be politic. She gives kind of a shaky smile and says, but it was difficult to be around the Sirthans.
You said that they were lying. What were they lying about? And as I say this, I remember that my own face is burned, and I pick the salve back up and start like rubbing it all over my face.
Yeah.
I take the hand that I was going to use to negate Apatia, and I raise it to Lissa, and in case that's not meaningful, I say, I think I can only do this on you if you consent to it. But I could try.
Apatia actually reaches out and lowers your hand and says, allow me, and makes it a question to Lissa.
I put the salve down once again and say, oh yes, that would definitely be helpful.
She says, I won't be able to, and she gestures to her own face, but I can make it less uncomfortable. Dull the sensation, if you will. And she very gently puts the tip of her middle and ring fingers in the middle of your forehead, and there's like a moment of kind of sharp sting, and then everything kind of mellows out, and the pain of the burns on your face becomes more like having the sort of afternoon sun kind of shining on you. And Apatia sort of shakes her head and she says, very few people ever lied to me back in Diamok. I am the sole daughter of Nyx, her earthly representative, and, well, many knew better than to try and lie to me, so I don't have a lot of experience with it, but, well, as you saw, I did not attempt to look away from what they were doing, and I think it was just show. I don't know what they did, but something isn't right.
On that,
go ahead.
On that, we can agree. And by the way, and I gesture to my face, thank you. That helps a lot.
She smiles and says, I was glad to be able to help. I felt very useless. I don't know what I expected from your god, but, she looks at Dusk and says, your negation is comforting. It takes away what would otherwise be too much, gives me somewhere to put it that isn't in my active experience, but that, well, everything flows into it, nothing comes out of it. I couldn't feel anything, and, well, I felt as though I was being unmade. I would like to not go back there.
That's perfectly reasonable. Dusk takes a brief moment to contemplate literally every decision he has ever made in his life.
That you don't have to worry about that. I tend to avoid that place myself.
Apatia nods and gives you kind of a look and says, "Are you often attacked by statues in it?"
No, that's a first. And I kind of cup my right arm. I suspect that we're not safe.
Apatia nods and she says, "We seldom are." At which point there is a light knocking at the door, and an acolyte's voice carries through dimly, saying, "Lord, milady, there is a visitor."
I open the door because it would be weird if someone else opened the door to my bedroom from my experience.
The acolyte outside of it gives you a small bow and says, "A woman has knocked at the front door when asked her business. She expressed a desire to see," and the acolyte just sort of turns to regard Apatia and says, "Your guest," and then bows again and starts to walk off.
Thank you, Timothy.
No particular response. By this point, Romnet, you are in the closing stages of your spell, so we'll have you roll in just a moment. But
Cool.
That's about the span of time that has passed. Who, if anyone, is going to mind the door?
I look at Dusk.
Yeah, I know. I suppose I'll mind the door. This probably breaks me out of my reverie of contemplating the nature and the drawbacks of nothing, which I've probably managed not to consider for a while. But yes, I shake that off and mind the door.
So you head downstairs and you pass through the dining hall on your way to the front door, which has another acolyte kind of just standing by it looking blank. Romnet, why don't you go ahead and roll your spell?
Sure.
It's a 6 plus a master
6.
die.
Yep. So that is a pair of 10s, which becomes 3 10s.
Okay. So, while you have been doing this, Rimush has gathered up all but one of the remaining attendants who he has sent back to the area where you had given Ia and Rimush their rooms, and taken the others and sort of shepherded them into sort of the entryway, where he now stands sort of regarding the acolytes standing there suspiciously. So, Romnet, you finish your invocation of the Oracle here, and I am going to choose to represent this as sort of like an oracular vision, because that's my preference here.
Sure.
So, you're gazing into your coffee, and it is almost like your vision is doing like a crane zoom into the surface of your coffee as the spell takes effect, and you see for a moment just sort of shimmering dark like the coffee's surface, and then you get a almost establishing shot of a large house in Fermata. You don't specifically have any landmarks that tell you where it is, but there's only so many cities that lack light entirely, and everything is made out of obsidian. And so
hard to tell which is the more obvious tell.
Those are the two big ones, I would think. But you see this house, and it seems unoccupied. There's no sign of movement or activity until the front door opens, and a hooded figure of large stature steps out, turns around to talk to someone still in the house that you're looking at, and then after a short conversation and a few gestures, turns to come down the steps and leave. And as they come to the bottom of the steps and turn, you get a glimpse of them, and it is Evine, looking much as she did this morning. Once she leaves the range of vision that you have here, the vision kind of dissipates as though ripples in the surface of coffee, and you're left with a very vivid recollection of the details of the vision, such that if you were to see the house from the correct angle, you would probably recognize it.
Okay.
But other than that, you have that when you were facing the house in your vision, Evine came out and departed to the left, and the details of the house, the details of sort of the time gesture, you weren't close enough to hear anything that was being said, and of course what Evine looked like in the image, which is to say, much like she had this morning. By about this time, Dusk, you have arrived at the front door and opened it to find the young healer that you left in charge of Apatia when she was still unconscious after you returned to Fermata. She's looking a little sleep-deprived. She sort of has, the look of somebody who's just come off like an 18-hour shift, doing something relatively active. She's dressed the same as she was last you saw her, but she has kind of this wide-eyed, big smile. And she says, "Oh, hello. I was told that the Lady Apatia was staying here. Do you know where I could find her?" My lord. Do you know where I could find her, my lord?
I try not to beam both at her enthusiasm at it being called my lord. That just never gets old. I don't want Lissa to know how much that never gets old. In any case, I say that I most certainly do, but she may be indisposed at the moment, but may actually be indisposed in a way that's relevant to your skill set. Would you mind coming in and sitting down a moment?
I would love to, my lord. Thank you. If she's indisposed, I'm sure I could be of help. I dare say that, aside from the Lady Apatia herself, no one in the city knows her physiology better than me. And she kind of chuckles.
Point of order. Did I learn this healer's name when we were moving on?
I don't think I ever gave her one. I'm going to say it was probably one of several names that you got in a flurry when you were returning to the city. So if you would like to recall it, I can try to help you recall it.
We can even abstract it, but I was gonna find a place to sit her comfortably, and then I figured I would go back and tell Apatia who came calling and see if A, she needed healing, or B, she would be excited for some company other than us, which, she likes us fine.
We can also, offer her coffee and acolyte eggs.
That's interesting. Do I
do
I
not
put her
like
in the same room?
Eggs. I do not like them, Sam. I am.
I do not like them. Have they legs? I think
like them Obsidian God.
I think I probably do actually seat her with Romnet and make a quick introduction so that she'll have a bit of company while she waits.
Her name is Ilona.
Ilona. All right.
I sort of startle up out of staring at my coffee and then down it in one gulp.
Seems it was worth contemplating.
Just look at you, fond, and also a little bit exasperated, and get more coffee as I offer to get Ilona some as well.
Ilona seems to realize all of a sudden who she's been seated next to and goes, "Oh, my lord prophet, thank you, but I'm full up on stimulants currently."
There is no need to stand on ceremony while within these walls, don't worry.
She chuckles to herself and goes, very well, I suppose I'll sit on it instead, as she takes her seat.
Adorable.
Chuckles to herself again. As Dosk, as you head toward Lissa's room to go check in with Apatia, Ilona has a couple moments of like fidgeting quiet as Ramnet gets himself more coffee. And when you have another seat, she turns and she says, I hope you won't think it rude. It's something of a professional interest of mine. But, can you see? I mean, it's probably very rude. I'm sorry.
I can see. I don't know how it works. But I'm reasonably certain I no longer have eyes, as such.
Oh.
Similarly, hair.
She
at least atop my head.
Goes with like an abortive gesture, like she's about to like rub your head, and then pulls her hand back and goes, fascinating. Did it hurt?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. It doesn't still, does it?
It doesn't still, does it?
Nah.
No.
She looks relieved. She goes, I'm glad to hear that, Prophet, sir.
If you wish, you may call me Ramnet in here. If not, then do as you will.
She,
Ceremony is only compulsory in public.
She blinks once and then giggles and goes, so be it, Ramnet in here. And then chuckles again at her own little joke.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, this dork. I love her.
It's worth noting that she was not nearly so animated last time you saw her. I mean, partially she was on the job, so it makes some sense, but this is a bit of a contrast.
She's had 6 of the Fermaten equivalent of Monster Energy drinks right before coming here.
Literal Monster Energy drinks.
Apatia brand.
For monsters, by
Apatia
monsters, flavor. Of monsters. Apatia flavor.
Wouldn't that be just like blood and caffeine?
Isn't that what Monster Energy drinks are?
Yeah. Have I been drinking a lie this whole time?
Blood and caffeine. Say our house words.
It sounds so close to a Mastodon song. Anyway.
So I'm making my way upstairs.
Yes.
I know that Ramna can handle this, and I'm convinced that whatever he was doing with his coffee, which I have no idea, he's now done it and is about to do something equally magical and delightful with the next cup. So I'm on my way back up to Lissa's room.
Yeah, so you re-enter, and Apatia is sort of putting herself back together, like she's trying to look relatively presentable for the first time in a couple days. Because first she was kind of high, and then she was right out of bed, and then she was, discomforted and terrified, and then she was burned, and so now she's like kind of trying to, get her appearance straight. As you come back in, she looks up and kind of smiles to see you, but says nothing.
I meet her gaze and I say, would you believe it was a caller for you? One of the healers, actually, that helped you when you first arrived, Ilona, came to see you. I don't know if perhaps if you've sorted yourself and don't need her help, but either way, she seemed very excited to have a conversation.
She cocks her head a little bit and says, oh, Ilona, yes, she was very helpful. I told you about her. She volunteered to help me with some of her blood the other night. It's very invigorating stuff.
I begin to connect the dots.
I don't know that I should partake again. I hope that isn't. Well, I suppose I have no reason to. She sort of shakes her head and says, "My, an entirely new level of social interaction for me. I am uncertain of what people expect of me here. Would you be so kind as to accompany me?" Looking at the two of you.
If you were feeling up to it, the social call need be only as sanguinous as you're both comfortable with.
She nods and she says, Indeed. Bloody, right? Yes.
Yes.
Thus
I should talk less like me. Yes, bloody is what I meant. It doesn't have to be bloody, is my point.
She waves a hand and she says, No, it's, the miracle has some trouble with words of multiple meanings is all. I was trying to make sure that I had the right one.
I put a calming hand on her shoulder with no divine content, just a hand.
She gives you a smile.
I try to rein in my discomfort, I guess, and it's like, you know that you could and I point to my arm and they say, I'm happy to accompany you.
Accompany you, yes.
And so you set out back for the dining hall and arrive in short order. So yes, Ramnet is situated with his new coffee, Ilona seated beside him. By this time, Rimush and the attendants that he had collected are not around. I'm not sure if they left or... I guess, Ramnet, you probably heard the door open and close, may have watched them file out, but they were headed presumably back to Sirtha for the attendants' safety. You have not seen Ia.
The Count of Sirthans was just a regular divination last time round?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can I
realm divination.
Can I sort of perform that again in the ambient while we're having a social
time? The number still stands at 16, but you can actually, especially since they're on the move, you can actually you can't get like an overhead map of Fermata, but you can sense them drawing ever closer to the gates.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I got that right. I was checking my math.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, I didn't need a mini map. I was just okay.
Yeah.
So they're on the move but not gone. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you said we don't see where Ia is?
After she left the dining hall in the direction of the rooms you had given them, you haven't seen her since then. She has not come back in this way.
I may pause before we get completely to the dining room and look at a patient desk and say, forgive me, I'm going to go check in on Ia.
Okay.
I give an approving nod and also, if possible, include some caution in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
In fact, I think I say, you know how to tug on me if you need me.
I will.
Just stop it with those eyebrows, Des. You know what
the
listener can't hear your eyebrows.
I know, it's so much fun.
Actually, yeah, let's add that I realize what I just said to Lissa and then say, you know what I...
I just smile and say, I know. You're fine.
There is a part of me that just imagined us doing video version of this, except all as VTube avatars.
That'd be fun.
Oh, Adam,
which would be prohibitively expensive and time consuming, but
let's add puppeteering to a thing we all have to do while we're doing this. Yeah,
exactly. And live 2D subscriptions and stuff. But
I found a TikTok a while ago that has how to do free VTuber stuff.
Oh, interesting. Maybe that could be an eventual Patreon goal of some description. No, I'm just thinking of the TikTok I saw where somebody did themselves as a VTuber of Dr. Worm from the They Might Be Giants song. You were saying, Drew.
I was going to say, if you wish to see me play Dosk as a cool squirrel boy, then put in those pledges at patreon.com/DashBox.
I like that you landed on Squirrel Boy. I would love to see that.
Odds extremely good. that if they hear this, Den will draw that.
Yes.
Ooh, I should have chosen way more carefully.
Shout out to Denois and all of the excellent fan art they have been
So good.
sharing on our
So good.
Discord and on their Twitter.
It makes my
They-
day.
They have, in fact,
Very exciting.
single-handedly caused Dice Punks to be an official tag on an archive of our own.
I am glad to hear that the goal has been accomplished. That it warms my heart.
It takes, apparently, 3
No.
words.
Everything is gravy from here. Let the record show.
Yeah. This has been a successful operation.
Don't mind me as I type vigorously at my keyboard.
Completely unrelated to anything, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Circling back around to the action of the session, not because this isn't delightful, but because I am
Yeah, we need to.
a monstrous needy chronophage. But Ia, when Lissa gets there, is still in her chambers. Do you, I assume, like, knock to see if she's there, or?
I will do a polite knock at her door, and probably say it's Alyssa if you have a moment.
She calls from the other side of her door. Yes, one moment. And her tone is much more fluid and gracious than it has been the last couple of times you've heard her speak. And indeed, after a short interval, she comes to open the door, opening it wide, but sort of standing there in it and looking up at you. How may I help you, Duchess?
With everyone else rather distracted, you told me the other night that you wished to speak with me in private about C.
Ah, yes. It had almost escaped my active attention with all that has happened, but she opens the door wider and gestures you within and says, "Come, sit." And goes over to sort of the dressing table in the room where she had sort of set out a apparently tea service that she brought with her, and goes to pour herself a cup and says, "Do you take tea?"
I do.
Marvelous. Pours you a cup and sort of brings the tray over, offering you a cup from it. And she says, "The sea. It has been turbulent lately." And she just barely makes it into a question.
It has been.
She nods. She says, "This has been the case near Sirta as well. This is particularly a problem because, as you may have gathered, our land is a dry one, and so turbulent seas mean that some of the very few arable lands in our country, well, are experiencing problems. When our seers attempted to divine the cause of this, well, it was the first thing that pointed us in the direction of your obsidian god. What has happened, if you do not mind my asking?" And she takes a dainty sip of her tea.
We were turned down on our offer of getting a drink and perhaps a dinner diplomatically. And they seem to have taken it rather personally, at least one of them. The other, I find their company quite favorable.
She raises an eyebrow, sort of, not like questioningly, but in a sort of acknowledgement and a little bit of being impressed. She says, "We have not found them to be very civil ourselves." She takes another sip of her tea and sets her cup down in the saucer and says, "So, to be blunt, you find yourself at odds with the sea, or at war with the sea?"
It is... If I were to say one or the other, I'd be oversimplifying it. To my understanding, the girl, I managed myself the last time, I left on good terms with Remulus.
She nods slowly and says, I see. Well, truth be told, it was not something that Sirtha charged us with, but personally I was hoping to be able to discuss an unofficial cooperation, perhaps, to contain and perhaps cow the sea's ire, if indeed your people were also at odds with it. So perhaps this could be a matter of correspondence going forward, no?
I would agree with that. Though, since we're being honest with each other, a word of caution that the good terms that we do have with the sea are not necessarily on my behalf, but another half of mine.
She looks thoughtful and nods slowly. She says, yes, I think I see.
Yes.
Well.
Yes. And I should warn you too, that other half is rather destructive and chaotic, and I believe that's where our accord came from.
That makes sense.
I'm quite familiar with destruction as much as I loathe it, and I'm familiar with where destruction is not.
She nods thoughtfully and says, I am glad that you came to speak to me about this, but I must make a request. Rimush, as you know, is the moon's regal. If you know anything about the ocean, you may be aware that it is tied in closely with the moon. He must not know of our conversation nor of our plans. He would take it amiss, I believe.
I can respect that. He did not seem pleased with the ongoings in the dining room.
She nods somewhat somberly and says, yes, well, I do not believe that anyone was particularly pleased with any part of that situation. And she sort of sighs deeply.
Did we ever find out what Melis had domain over?
You did not. It never came up.
I will ask Ia that. What was it that Melis had domain over?
She pauses, looking not quite startled, but, as though she hadn't considered that. She says, pearls.
Pearls?
Yes, pearls. I am assuming you saw her eyes.
Yes.
Pearls.
Another tie to the ocean, it seems.
Now that you mention it, yes.
Well, thank you for the tea and for your transparency.
She inclines her head and says, I do hope that we are able to work together, at least for as long as we can. I think you have some knowledge of the pride and unpredictability of imperators, but, well, that is why they have us.
That is my hope as well, Ia. And my hope is that we can continue being honest with each other.
She gives you a small smile. In fact, I would love it if you would roll for me the 5 dice you have in Charm plus Graces.
Ooh! That's awesome.
Yay, Alyssa gets a big pool.
Oh! 3 6s!
Yeah!
Oh!
Add another one to the tally.
That might be the first time anybody but Dask has rolled
Yes!
3 6s.
Yup.
Welcome to the fold.
That's the first time I've rolled 3 6s this campaign.
Yeah, I'm actually making a note of it right here. Congratulations. You detect that when you highlight honesty, Ia is slightly taken aback, but not displeased. And she gives you a small smile and concurs. Yes, well, I hope that honesty shall characterize all of our dealings. As much as our imperators will allow, anyway. And she gives you kind of a meaningful look as she says that very tonelessly.
Yes, I'm quite familiar with how imperators can be withholding. Thank you for that.
She keeps a carefully blank expression and says nothing in particular, but finishes off her tea. I should mention, the tea? Extraordinarily good. It's not really like anything you've had in Taraxis. If you had to sort of pin it down, it tastes vaguely of the sort of spices that come in over the Carolyn wastes, and sunshine.
I will loosen up the temperature here. Or like, loosen up the tension, not temperature. And talk about how delightful the tea is.
She graciously accepts your compliments, and once you are done, gently and with a lot of diplomacy and tact, shepherds you towards the door.
Mm-hmm.
Let us visit the dining hall. In the meantime, while this conversation has been going on, Dosku and Apatia have arrived in the dining hall, where you see that Remush and the attendants indeed are not in evidence. Ramnet and Ilona are seated next to each other at this large dining hall table. Ramnet relatively, sort of collected and drinking his coffee. Ilona looking kind of fidgety, if not particularly down-spirited. When she hears the sound of people entering the room, she turns around and stands up and kind of like, walks on.
I give her a bit of the ceremony she craves. I do not make the sound of a trumpet with my lips, but I do reintroduce Apatia, the Lady of Sensation, and give something of a courtly bow.
What you could do, Drew, is you could give the sensation of it dying away.
Oh, yeah.
So I provide the sensation that a horn has just been blown.
I love this.
Yeah, you know what? I do that.
A good use of a ghost miracle.
You're welcome.
Ilona scrambles to her
works.
feet. Yeah. Ilona scrambles to her feet and gives you an extremely formal curtsy that you realize after the fact is really aimed more at Apatia than it is at you, deflating you only a little bit. Apatia merely waves in a friendly manner and says, "It is good to see you again, Ilona." To which Ilona, holding her deep curtsy, says, "My Lady of Sensation, it's lovely to see you again. How are you feeling?" And Apatia responds, "Oh, much better, thanks to you and to..." And she pauses for just a hair and says, "Lord Dosk," with only a hint of a smile in her voice. And then turns back to Ilona and says...
At that, Rumnet, off on the side there, briefly snorts coffee. No other reaction.
Apatia says, "I'm told that you came seeking me." And Ilona, straightening, nods and says, "Indeed, my lady, I wanted to, check on you, see if you, needed anything, if you were feeling all right, if perhaps you..." And she licks her lips once and sort of looks a little... I wouldn't go so far as to say nervous, but flustered, and says, "Perhaps if you were, hungry." And Apatia looks a little surprised and says, Oh, I think I'm all right. Do you mind if we sit? This addressed to both Ilona and to Dosk.
Let's absolutely sit.
We'll all take seats, sort of in the area around where Dosk and Ilona were sitting, and Ilona makes sure that Apatia ends up next to her. And
I also subtly direct things that to work this way in a way Uncle Melly taught me. Just by gesture and gaze, suggest where people should sit. Whether or not it comes out that way is almost immaterial. The point is you're making an effort.
I think that is one of the key attitudinal differences between you and your family, Dawes.
I hadn't pinpointed that, but yes, yeah, completely.
So, Ilona, upon sitting, sort of impulsively takes one of Apatia's hands, like in two of hers, and then realizes what she's done, and immediately puts her hands by her side. Apatia's hand kind of stays there for a second, and then she lowers it slowly. They fall into slightly awkward chatting about how Apatia is feeling, and Apatia mentions that she felt very giddy and a little bit out of control after the last time she sort of euphemistically refers to it as had a meal. And Ilona sort of, seems excited, but also a little bit self-conscious about this. And it quickly becomes clear that Apatia is glad of the interest that Ilona is showing her, but does not wish to drink her blood again. Whereas Ilona increasingly, obviously, really wants Apatia to drink her blood again. Apatia, for her part, seems a little confused by this, but is trying as hard as she can to be graceful.
Oh, chasers.
What? What did you say? I couldn't quite make it out. I need to hear it at a louder volume.
So there is a concept in Vampire the Masquerade, etc., of those who seek out being drunk from by vampires.
Fantastic. What was the term?
Chasers.
It is at about this time, after a couple of minutes of back and forth between Ilona and Apatia, where they are both very friendly and very sort of upbeat, but Apatia keeps on trying to gracefully dodge veiled propositions of offers of blood from Ilona, that Lissa returns, seeing this kind of tableau and fairly quickly picking up on what's going on.
So I imagine that I would recognize Ilona, not by name necessarily, but as a healer.
Sure. Yeah, you recognize, this is one of those healers you talked to.
I'm gonna just pull up a chair and plop it right between Ilona and Apatia as much as space allows.
Space does not allow. You get like a knee in there. You're a very large woman.
I know.
They are not.
On the other hand, she's a very large and strong woman. Space may nevertheless allow.
Well, I guess it depends on how much you are willing to literally grab the backs of their chairs and pull them apart.
I probably shift Ilona and be like, "Oh, it's so great to see you again. Could you look at my arm?" And then kind of like as I'm gesturing and like kind of disrobing partially to get my arm exposed, squeeze myself more in between the two of them.
Ilona seems like she's about to get a little flustered and maybe even protest, and then she sees your arm, which you hadn't really rolled the sleeve up on yet. You knew that it hurt. Your arm is like 70% bruise at this point, of a couple of different ages, and Ilona looks at it and goes, "Wait, but you were already hurt when you came back. What did you do?" She's instantly in full healer mode.
I just say snake bite.
She looks at you and goes, "What? Did you get an anti-venom?"
Obsidian snake bite, to be clear.
She looks at Robnan and goes, I are there snakes in Fermata? And she
I will just look at
looks
her.
around.
There are statues in Fermata.
She gives you a look with a slightly narrowed eye and says, "Thank you for your wisdom, Lord Prophet." She looks at an acolyte and says, "My medical bag, if you please," and snaps her fingers and points at the door. The acolyte gives a small bow and walks at their usual stately pace toward the door. And she spends a little while fretting over Alyssa's arm. Also seeing your face is burned at the time, and starts to do that kind of like worried mother drill that some in medicine have of like, how did you even, there's not a sun, this is sunburn, how did you, and Apatia catches your eye very briefly and gives you kind of a grateful smile.
I wink at her and then turn back to Luna and absolutely bask in the motherly attention and be like, oh, I give a very dramatic retelling of the fact that we're being visited by someone that can control the power of the sun, and I leave out the whole execution part of stuff. But there is a very dramatic retelling.
As you pointedly don't mention that part, I look over at the part of the table where there is.
I, seated beside Dusk, am offering a very quiet running counter commentary that is like 98% pure snark.
By volume.
That's some pure snark. One of Fermata's chief exports at this point.
Honestly, that and violence.
These are markets for all times and all seasons.
There's an album called Snark and Violence somewhere in there.
Blood and coffee, snark and violence.
I think that may be
one
the
of these
episode
days,
title.
Maybe. One of these days I'm going to have to work the 76% of certain lyrics to Coffee Achiever into the, as the poet once said, when Romnet features extraordinarily prominently with his coffee. This would have been a good episode if I didn't already have something lined up. In any case. So yeah, the acolyte leaves to get the bag, and despite moving at a pretty slow pace, that acolyte, a different acolyte, it's impossible to tell, comes back with the bag in probably 10 minutes. And Ilona sees to Lissa. Let me make a roll.
As he departs, I will say thank you, Timothy, with just an edge of sarcasm to it.
Zero reaction.
Of course.
I also chime in with a belated thanks, Timothy.
So as not to feel left out, I sort of mumble thanks to Timothy.
Ilona looks really confused and goes, "Oh, do they have names?"
Yes, you should ask them.
She gives you a slightly skeptical look and goes, "Things change around here so fast." And finishes sort of healing you up. You may change. I believe only your arm has killing damage.
No, there's still a killing damage on my head too.
Okay, you may change killing damage in each of your head and your arm to shock.
Yay!
That is a little bit more than you would usually get from triage, but also like, you know, you're in the middle of what is going to probably end up being kind of a rest period. So, we are going to fudge it some. Plus, Ilona is good at what she does, especially when she's on the blood plasma equivalent of meth. So,
enough with the good album titles.
That one's got to be a conceptual album of some sort.
Yeah, no, it's prog rock for sure.
Yeah,
I think I feel like it's actually some kind of progressive electronica.
That or like
you're right. Yeah,
core.
I think I've already heard it on a Mars Volta album.
It has very high male vocals. Yeah, it's true.
This is the part of the show where Adam gets songs stuck in his head that he has to remember not to hum into the microphone because we're recording a podcast and not just hanging out.
But fortunately, off-key pop goes the weasel is in the public domain.
Yes, well, that character has not showed up.
which is good for everyone.
Please don't make that character show up.
It would be a very odd fit. That character was an ex-mafia fixer. So
you
weird.
could make it work, I believe. I believe in my heart that you could make it work.
Yeah, and this was actually all an isekai, and the main character hadn't showed up yet.
I'm still stuck on like the death of this lovely podcast being you humming something into the mic and the DMCA taking us down.
Right. Oh man. So some time passes in relative camaraderie, and this is sort of healed. At a certain point, Apatia makes excuses to leave the room, at which point Ilona realizes that she has sort of a medical practice to get back to, and leaves somewhat dejected that she did not get her fix, but unwilling to contradict Lady Apatia, does not make too big a deal of it. And the three of you are left in the dining hall with Apatia, Ramnet, Das, Lissa there, and then Ia presumably still in her room, and assorted acolytes sort of hanging around in the general vicinity.
Because I can't not make it about me, I briefly wonder, I just need to self-examine, do I feel a more than natural urge to have my blood sucked by Apatia again? It occurs to me that it hasn't occurred to me. And I guess, as a matter of mechanics, I felt it might be worth asking.
This is an interesting thing. I would like you to make an unconventional roll. Usually rolls are a stat plus a skill. In this case, I'm going to give you a stat plus a stat. I would like you to roll a sense plus knowledge. 6 dice.
Okay. Let me find 6 dice I'm happy with. Hang on.
That you're happy with us.
Well, that are giving me good vibes.
Of course. Dice vibes are important.
Yeah. Okay, let's vibe. That is a pair of 8s.
All right. No, you are not particularly. You don't mind Apatia taking little bits of your blood. She, it's minimally painful. She, heals up the wounds right away. It clearly helps her. She's very polite about it, but it doesn't fill you with any kind of, euphoria or desire. It's just, the pleasure you get from it is the pleasure of helping a friend.
The feeling then that passes over me is that feeling when you're on your 3rd drink at a bar and you see someone who's all the way gone and probably has a problem and you think, am I headed that way? Nah, I'm not headed that way. At least not yet.
And while you are having your existential crisis of the morning,
2nd or 3rd, I think.
So you go through those like I go through coffee.
More or less. We all need our stimulants.
That could also be a good episode title. I will mention that I tried to divine in my coffee what exactly was going on with the Sirthans, but I did not get a useful response on that. But there is definitely something shady going on, and I will absolutely smirk at that.
I appreciate. I show vast appreciation of the turn of phrase.
I also chuckle.
Something isn't adding up, and it's more than just your count of the Sirthans and attendants.
Apatia chimes in there and says, "Count?
Well, there were 20 of them, plus the nobles at arrival.
Correction, 20 including the nobles. 20 Sirthans total, 2 nobles, 18 attendants, every time you've divined, you've had 16 Serthans.
Right. So, 20 Serthans upon arrival. 16 Serthans by divination. Unclear whether or not the nobles show up as Serthans on the divinations. And 2 missing attendants.
Hypatia sort of looks a little thoughtful and says, well, if the nobles weren't specifically allowing themselves to be scried by low-level divinations, their Octortas would protect them, I think. Only mortals would show up.
Well, then the count wouldn't be off, assuming the 2 missing ones are indeed
dead or not
missing.
Here.
She nods, she says, certainly if they were absent entirely, depending on how you framed the divination, their corpses might still show up, at least in my experience. Then again, I don't know how transferable my skills are.
I
was much
interrupt to ask if Dusk can do a quick divination of the city for corpses.
I pinch the bridge of my nose and say yes, and I do it.
Okay. So this is going to be another thing where it's enough on the edge of the level 2 realm divination that I'm going to ask you to kind of roll to be able to parse the information that you get. But in this case, rather than a sense roll, I'm going to let you do knowledge plus scrutinize rather than sense plus scrutinize. So that's going to up your pool to 6 dice.
Gotcha. Here they come. That is 3 threes.
Nice.
3 threes. So, in your own words, specifically what information are you trying to receive from the chancel?
The phrase that immediately springs to mind is fresh corpses, and then a heartbeat later I clarify anyone who is dead and became so in the past day.
Okay. Let me think how to make this work. You are immediately aware, as soon as you ask the question, of 100 eternal deaths. And no, you don't really know what that implies, but they feel different. Those immediately fade from your awareness, given the adjustment to your question. As you sort of like focus in on stuff, you can still sense them if you try. Recent deaths, you have quite a few because Fermata is a large city and, any number of people may be dying at any given time.
Death happens.
But having a little bit of luxury to focus on it and apply your sort of analytical skills to it, you can actually be fairly sure that every death that you can sense outside of those eternal deaths are from Mottons. No outsider has died here. Unless some of those eternal deaths were outsiders, if you discount those entirely, no outsider has ever died here.
Point of historical information, I say to Ramnet. Has an outsider ever died in Fermata?
To my knowledge, Adam, has an outsider ever died in Fermata?
Well, the only one that comes to mind is Melis.
If indeed she died, then I think our only death left that behind. I will gesture at the plaque that isn't there.
An unprecedented diplomatic incident. That's nice.
But Dusk didn't just this is out of character clarification. He felt that no one has died. That's an outsider in Fermata. I'm going to quietly shake my head, and I'm assuming that we're in an enclosed space where it's fairly safe to talk since we're having this conversation.
The only person other than the four of you who is in the manor at all is Ia, and as far as you know, she's still in her chambers.
Yeah. So I'm going to say I think the situation is a bit more complicated than that, and incline my head to the scorch marks.
Of course it is. That was at least partly a show for us. We just don't know what the hell it might be covering up. Whether something was taken, or whether something was left, or whether something was found. But
you said something about taking the light back in the manifestation.
Yes, I tried to.
I'm gonna interrupt here. Hold that thought, bookmark it, because I don't want you to lose it. But Lissa, when you're thinking about the confidence in which your discussion might be taking place, it occurs to you kind of like scan a little, in the area, and using your kind of realm sense to help you out, in addition to your mortal senses, you can't see or hear anything that makes you think somebody might be listening in, but you kind of think somebody's listening in.
Can I immediately hold a finger up and the universal hush gesture, and then I point dramatically at my ear, and then circle my finger around, indicating we're being overheard.
Since we haven't said I conveyed all of what I found out by divining, let's say I was about to get to the part about the eternal deaths, and then I see that gesture and stop.
Right. In that case,
at that moment, Lissa, the sense goes away that you're being watched.
Can I see, do a lesser divination to see if I can figure out where it's going to, where it was, anything?
You may. I would like to make myself extremely clear. When you did this gesture, that's when it stopped. That's when the sensation went away. As for your divination, at level 2, at least, no additional information. Nothing turns up. Apatia looks a little bit confused, but sort of glances around.
I point to my ear, looking at Lissa, and give sort of a questioning look, as if to say, still?
Well, unfortunately...
I shake my head, but I kind of very slowly say out loud, I mean, perhaps we should check on the big guy?
Unfortunately, out of character, Froth, which makes it difficult to scry on people, has a casting time of 5 hours.
We may or may not have discussed that over bento boxes one day, but think in the hopes that we can strategize quickly, how miraculous would it be for me to basically make us a cone of silence in the room of the manor so that anyone who is not seated at the table can't see or hear what is said at the table? In other words, they would see or hear nothing.
Yeah. That feels to me like a lesser creation, which you can do. Because you'd basically be creating like a zone of nothing between where you are and where they would be. The only, and this is something that would probably occur to Dusk, the only thing that might complicate that is that you wouldn't necessarily have insight into whether or not that had been successfully circumvented in some manner. If somebody had a clever way through it, you wouldn't really know. But as far as you can be aware, it would definitely stop sound from being perceptible to anyone that you couldn't then see, barring some kind of non-miraculous invisibility. Because if it was miraculous invisibility, there's a decent chance that it would rub up against your Arctoritas and you would if they were close enough, and then you would know.
What I do is I do this. I create this
Mhm.
little zone of silence, and then I say the juiciest, stupidest piece of gossip I could think of. I say, I hear that in Cirtha they wear shoes on their hands, and this is a great affront. I'm amazed that they've managed to keep their hands shoeless the entire time they've been here.
How did you find this out?
Oh, I have my ways. And as I'm doing this, I'm pointing to my ear and giving the same question.
Oh.
And seeing if you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Do I?
You feel nothing.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, there doesn't seem to be anybody observing you currently.
Pointing at my ear, and I'm saying, so when you went to see Ia in her chambers, she deigned to keep her hands unshoed for you, and since nothing seems to be happening, I'm reasonably confident that we're not being listened to if whatever you were feeling, you no longer feel.
Yeah, I think that was a smart choice. I'm not sure where they went or who they were, but there was a moment where I could definitely feel them. But the shoe thing was just a joke, right?
A complete invention, but I
Okay.
will henceforth make it one of my firmest prejudices.
That's funny.
Apatia looks confused.
You couldn't tell who was listening, though.
I could not. But I have reason to believe, as we've suspected, that Melis is not dead. I don't want to make any assumptions about her degree of aliveness. She had a domain of pearls. Pearls.
I could detect no trace of her after my eyes once again dart to the ash or the scorch marks. But that simply means she's not here, or that she's keeping herself from being detected. At this point, I share what I learned about the 100 eternal deaths, and that I don't know what to make of that factor, if it's at all related.
100 eternal deaths here?
Recently.
I look at Romit.
To be clear, because they are eternal, you cannot say anything about their recency.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. I thought, gotcha.
What makes a death eternal?
Are they the acolytes?
I suppose, yeah. I simply share it as it came to me. 100 eternal deaths, and I look to Romnit to make that make sense. Whether it's the death or the one dying who was, or ought to be, or ought to have been eternal, I couldn't tell you.
How many acolytes are there? Do we know?
Not a clue. The most you've ever seen in one place at one time is probably half a dozen.
And they do get around.
You could try divining that.
Can I actually do a lesser divination for how many acolytes are around?
Ooh, that's fun. Yes. And holding the divination for a few moments, the number changes constantly.
Okay, so how do, in terms of it changing, give me an example.
When you first sort of look into the realm and question the chancel to see how many acolytes there are, it's 18. A couple seconds later, it goes down to 16, then down to 8, then up to 12.
I say all the numbers aloud as they happen.
Yeah.
And then stop when I realize what's going on.
Let me also have you make a roll here. Let's go with knowledge plus sense. Let's get 3 dice on.
Okay. The cringe was there.
Mm-hmm.
I got 2 9s.
Okay. You sort of do the spiritual equivalent of squinting at this.
Uh-huh.
sort of like, that doesn't make any sense, and you sort of focus on it, and you kind of get the feeling, again, I resort to analogy to describe things here, you get the feeling that the number of acolytes in Fermata at any given time is akin to the number of fingers a person is holding up at any given time. There might be just kind of a connection there where, like, there's kind of one omni-acolyte that instantiates a number of acolytes depending on what it's doing. It's not clear that, you know,
Timothy.
it's not clear that it's, like, specifically like a hive mind or what. Like, the relationship between the acolytes is up for debate, but clearly it's kind of like there's we might say, like, a process running in the background that instantiates acolytes as needed.
I relay that to everyone after I cut off the numbers that I've been saying out loud randomly.
Timothy is more of a process, then. Is all I can think to say.
This is my secret Trojan horse backdoor way of making this into a transistor campaign.
Yes.
Diabolical.
And we all support it, so, you know.
Apatia looks troubled by this.
I'm also troubled, if it's any consolation.
It's troubling.
It does
It's
lend
just-
credence to the idea that they probably don't lay the eggs.
Yes. What is the population of Fermata?
Okay, I do have this noted down. Give me just a second.
This toes the line between, like, solving a mystery and just wikiing things
Yeah.
about their home that are just, we've lived here a while. It's never occurred to me.
There's nothing
Yeah,
so sinister sounding as 100 eternal deaths occurring in here, so we're gonna have to, like, pry Lessa away from this.
How many of those deaths were eggs?
okay, so if you're asking how many Fermatans are there,
Mhm.
it is hard to... So, divination miracles do not feed you numerals. So it's hard to be, like, precise without sort of lingering here and doing some, like, tabulations while you divine. But you feel pretty comfortable saying that it is between 100,000 and 500,000 people.
Okay.
It does not seem to be changing arbitrarily like the acolyte numbers, though. It's, you know, obeying demographic change as you understand it in the real world.
Got it. So it's not every Fermatan, thankfully.
So I guess just before we let this go, the phrase eternal deaths is just the way that came to me, but I don't know what that means. And nor does Ramnat seem to know what that means when I convey it to him.
Nope.
Yeah, it's like... It didn't come to you in words, but it's like there are 100 discrete deaths, specific ones, that are constantly happening, right? Like, not there are always 100 people dying, but there are always the
But
same
these
100 deaths
are
occurring.
constantly-
So a mortal dying would look or feel different on the
Yeah,
on
it
the
would
big board.
be...
Whatever these are, they're not that.
It would be life, death, gone. This is just as far back as you can divine, which you can't really say how far that is in time. Really, like, there's no ruler next to it.
The way it's a square wave, like a distorted electric guitar, just death the whole way.
Let's go with that. Yeah, it is.
An anachronistic
are-
analogy, but yeah.
100 deaths that appear to have been in the moment of death as far back as Fermata has history.
The creation of
So if we put aside the 100 or so entities that are constantly in the process of dying,
which
it
is
seems
very sad.
we may need to investigate this further. However, it seems potentially unrelated to the problem and the conundrum and the mystery currently at hand.
I think that what we could say with confidence is Sirtha has plans of their own. I think we can trust Ia, but she is being forced by her imperator to perhaps withhold information from us, and that is where the concern is. But she did gesture for an opportunity for future correspondence, so I don't think the goal is to destroy, but potentially control.
I think before we dropped the cone of silence, I didn't get to finish questioning Ramnet about what he saw, right? The taking the light thing.
Oh, I didn't know we had dropped the code of silence. Sorry. I missed that somewhere. Go ahead.
The cone of silence is still in effect.
It's
still
created and
I was picturing
down,
Get Smart. I was picturing
understand
descending
yeah.
upon us. Yeah.
But Adam just quivered with excitement when he thought, "Oh, the cone of silence is still on."
Your guard's
No,
down.
no.
Cool.
I just wanted to make sure that I had it right, and also this is one of those weird coincidences where I hadn't thought about Get Smart in years until literally Friday, and then came up as an example in class, and now here it is in gaming. Anyway, yes, Code of Silence is still up. You may ask Ramnet about his thing. Go for
it. This is the part where I ask you to remind me about that thing.
This is the coffee divination where you saw the large Fermaten house of indistinct
location. I thought you were...
Am I right?
I thought he was asking about the taking of the light divination from last session.
I think I was, actually. Yeah, because we were in the midst of it, and I never got to ask him what he meant when he asked her, why do you want to take the light, or what do you mean to take the light? Understood.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So... Yeah, you had seen in your spell in the heart of the chancel, Melis standing in Fermata as all of the human lights and all of that silver limning went out, and it was followed by a vision of one Taraxan ship flanked by two ships of unfamiliar make encountering a whirlpool in open waters.
I will mention that.
I light up.
Did he ask about me?
My friend. Did he ask about my friend?
I will look at Lissa, curious, like you obviously know something.
The whirlpool may be a friend of a friend?
A friend, exclamation point, of a friend, question mark.
Friend affectionate, friend dubious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Friend factorial.
No, that's the acolytes.
Yeah, that is the acolytes.
Yeah.
Well said.
Fractal friends. Perhaps most importantly, it may not have been just any whirlpool.
Oh, I guess you're right. Whirlpools do kind of occur in the ocean. It doesn't have to be right, Melis.
Well, I mean, I suppose this is a professional question, isn't it? Again, to Ramnet. How common is it for a vision to be fouled by coincidence?
In my experience, Adam.
This feels like the sort of thing where you will have to bring some interpretation to the table, but my impulse would be that since you began well before any of this stuff started happening in the clerical business, you have become extremely skeptical of coincidence where divination is concerned. That would be my instinct.
Express my dubiousness of the very concept of coincidence.
Well, then. I've been trying to avoid it, but it's probably inevitable that we just need to ask the boss.
Yes. At the very least, to make sure that they're okay after having someone unceremoniously run down their well, that seems a bit invasive.
To be fair, the two of you did come out of it.
Well, but invited.
That's not entirely true. They stepped out of the darkness in the cavern, but like from the sides. Okay. Yeah. I don't know how detailed that description was in the first episode, and it has been a minute, but yeah.
We didn't come out of the well to shame humanity.
I was hoping somebody would go there.
I was giving you a yes and, but okay, well, so then yeah, I say that instead. It's like, well, we didn't come out of the well, adjacent to the well. Is this a pedantic point?
That's well, actually.
Bless you, Rob.
Let's pack it in. We've peaked. We'll peak.
No, the peaks come later.
Yeah, that's true. Jinx. I would say I owe you a Dr. Pepper, but you got that monkey off your back. All right. I think. Do we agree that we need to make our way to the manifestation?
Yes.
Apatia hastily excuses herself and retreats
except
to her
for
chambers.
Apatia.
Yes.
Yes, if it's all the same to you, I will nap. And she gives a decisive nod and heads off in the direction of the chambers that you had assigned to her.
I support you.
Perfect combination in stereo.
And so you head to the manifestation. Into it. There is actually a line of supplicants who get really excited when they see Ramnet, but the acolytes make no move to fetch you to your official seat. And so you pass them by, and they
Timothy.
Look a little, but they defer to the acolytes in this case. You head down the indeterminate stairs and into the heart of the chancel again. Certainly more often than I imagine any one of you wish to come here.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that catches Lissa's attention is that the snake seems whole again. In fact, it has, changed. It now has 2 heads instead of just the one. They seem to have grown back Hydra style. And the heads that it has match the heads depicted in your tattoos broadly. These are a lot more detailed than your tattoos, but they seem to broadly match, and they are not getting along. It doesn't seem like there is a fight happening, but it looks as though a fight could happen at any moment.
That's more accurate.
Otherwise, the heart of the chancel seems unchanged from the last time you were here.
I'm just going to walk over to the well and go, "Hello, are you down there?"
It's me, Margaret.
Yes, that's exactly the tone I was going for. Thank you.
There is no response, but perhaps even more notably, your voice echoes back to you out of the well. This is the first time you have heard an echo inside the manifestation, the heart of the chancel, anywhere past the front doors of the manifestation.
One of us is going to have to go down the well.
Well,
for the listener, Robin has just placed her finger on her nose in the universal nose goes gesture.
I like to think that's in character, actually.
It was in character. And it's going to remain there.
Well, I suppose it's likely enough that even putting any other factor aside, Lissa's way more likely to come to a point she can't fit through.
Yes.
And Ramnet isn't, it doesn't have quite the divine protection.
The spark.
I'm trying to be, since I'm not saying this out loud, why am I trying to be diplomatic? But I'm probably harder to kill. So I think it's me going down the well.
I think you also have
All
less
right.
damage.
That is also true. Yes.
That is true. So, how are you proceeding into the well?
That's a good question.
Miraculously, of course.
Yes. I'm just trying to think of how nothing gets me safely into a well.
You do also have realm miracles, although only up to level 2.
That's true. So, if I look into the well, can I see anything, or is the darkness pretty much absolute?
The darkness is absolute. In fact, the fact that you can see any of the Heart of the Chancel is pretty much just due to the fact that you are part of this place.
Sure. And even with the sight, there's nothing to see in the well. Can I tell if there's like something to grip as I climb in, or would I basically be leaping in if I were to not do something miraculous?
If you were to not do something miraculous, you could attempt to climb, but you would be feeling out handholds and footholds completely blind. And for the record, I don't believe that if you look in with the sight, you don't really see anything, but I don't believe you had looked in to the well with the sight prior, so you wouldn't really have anything to compare it to in terms of like whether this was normal.
I think what I do is I poise myself on the well and I prepare a more advanced version of this Zeno's paradox technique I've been refining. I pick a point a little bit down the well, and then I eliminate the space between myself and it, and I repeat this process until
Interesting.
until I find something that I collide with.
At first, it doesn't seem to work. You're just standing there, wondering why you have not zooped forward into the well, and then you adjust slightly to make sure that you're not intersecting the stone of the well at all with like the plane of your miracle, and instantly you start to do these little Xenos jumps into the well, and very quickly it's just dark. You actually sort of have the impulse to like reach out and see if the well is still there, because you can't feel anything. I don't know, it's up to you if you do that or not, but like that's kind of like the feeling of isolation there. And you go on like this for what seems like a minute, by which I mean not a literal minute, but an interval, a decent one. Any particular action or change in traversal or anything?
If it's working and I'm not becoming one with the stone of the well, or whatever the well's made of, I assume obsidian, then I think I just keep on keeping on for now. I do call back up, though. I say, if you can hear me, I'm all right.
Okay. Those of you who are not in the well, yes, Robin?
Do we hear him?
Gotcha. Those of you who are not in the well, watch Dosk blink out of existence. And in about 3 minutes maybe passes, and then you hear a faint echo of his call
you can hear me,
up from up from the well.
We can hear you! My voice broke as I was saying that, but I shout it with all the force in my lungs.
Not that you would know this, Dosk, but their call does not reach you. Alyssa, her voice does not make it to where you are. So you simply hear nothing and do not know that there is anything to hear. How long do you want to keep this up?
How long has it been since I started? Do I have any sense?
It's really hard to tell. You would guess with maybe coming up on 10 minutes.
I reach out and see if I can brace myself against something so that I can call out to the big they. Now that I'm further down.
Your hands touch nothing.
I keep zooping, since the way I'm doing this, I need to either keep zooping in the same direction or hopefully find some way to reverse direction. But as I'm doing so, I do call out, much as Lyssa did. Okay.
After between 10 and 15 minutes, you hear kind of another even fainter call come up from the well into the heart of the manifestation. as though from an even further distance down. No telling how long it had to travel to get there. Just keep going, or?
Whatever I've been calling out, I include the name Mott this time.
Okay. The next time you call out, it's been maybe closer to 20 minutes for the folks in the well chamber, and it actually sounds louder and clearer. You don't hear the name Mott. That would probably have caught your attention if you heard it, but not in what you hear.
I can see nothing, but can I sense anything? Or is sort of the extrasensory darkness as thick as the sensory darkness?
Near the top of the well, the first couple of zoops, you could sort of sense the stone around you. You could sense the room above you. That has gone.
I'd try an upward zoop to make sure I can do it.
Instantly, you are back in the well chamber.
Oh.
You are sitting on the edge of the well. After about 23 minutes, let's say, all of a sudden, boom, Dusk is back on the edge of the well in the blink of an eye.
I shout and then laugh and say, "But did you find the big them?"
It is impossible to express how much nothing is down there. I fell for ages, and then the moment I thought of returning, luckily I was able to, but immediately I was here.
That's terrifying. But I'm glad you're back.
Me too. I feel like I understand the light word a little better now. I thought I knew darkness, but that's darkness. No offense, I say to my Void Skull boyfriend.
None taken.
It would seem the distance down is infinite. I feel I could have fallen for an age more, and I also heard no response from, even when I said the name of... This is strange.
I'm going to lean over the well and say Mott's name again.
Mm-hmm. You hear it echo faintly back up to you.
Did you hear me say the name when I was there? Because I said it a lot.
No. Can I do a lesser divination to see if any miracles were worked in the well? I know I'm going to pick up a lot of dosks. But that may be a good sort of baseline for looking for other miraculous activity.
Just a chemtrail of zoops going down into the darkness.
So as with miraculous things generally, you will succeed here. But do give me a supplementary, let's say... that's right, you don't have a whole lot of...
Maybe Dosk should do this.
I'm going to allow you to do knowledge plus empathy. I'm going to give you the biggest sense-related pool that I can, because you are taking your time on this.
Okay.
And kind of trying a few things.
No matches. I got excited because I thought I had another pair of sixes, but alas, it was 69.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna summon Lady Luck.
Okay, all right.
Because I feel like this is an important role, and maybe this time she'll take pity on me.
Be a lady, Luck.
She did not. Surprising no one.
Starting to wonder if she ever was a lady to begin with. I've probably already said that.
Oh, yeah, she's absolutely a lady. She just frowns upon Lissa's tendencies.
Unladylike, yeah.
So what you can get from the miracle then is you see Dosk's Zoops, and you actually have a feel for what Dosk's miracles, sort of look/feel like. That probably you could have attended to before, like you've detected it, but now you're actually paying attention to it. You actually also sense, like, if Dosk's miracles are like fingerprints on, objects in space, you get a feel for some of what maybe might be Mott's works. You can't perceive the whole signature. It's, fingerprints for Nobilis miracles versus, like, Nazca lines for Imperator miracles. But you think there's probably some of that there. You're unable to really tell. There's enough that is unfamiliar about this that it is entirely possible that there are faded miraculous signatures that could be detected somewhere in there. It's hard to say whether they could just be being covered up by the noise of more recent miracles like Dosk's. Actually, you can probably also just barely detect, like, you can't make out the signature for it, but you can detect a miracle having happened where you slammed into Melis. There's just the faintest hint of an aspect miracle right in that, sort of spot.
I knew she wasn't that strong. Anyway, I relay the rest of the information or lack thereof accordingly as best I can. Be like, Mott might have done something. There might be something else down there, but I can't really tell.
Presuming you shared the petty comment, I do grin at it.
I led with the petty comment.
I drink it like ambrosia, and then the rest I just sort of nod at gravely since it doesn't get us much further.
I am concerned by their silence.
Yeah.
It
seems worthy of concern.
Is this also without precedent? This silence, this seeming absence?
Well, if you are asking me, or if you are open to my summary of your current knowledge, it is outside of your experience for there to be absolutely no response. Like, you have been ignored by Mott before, but there have generally been signs of their presence or reaction.
They've ignored us loudly, yeah.
Yeah, pressure or, the presence of Mott in the well has been there. Let me see.
Can I feel Mavia?
I'm sorry?
Can I feel Mavia?
Good question. Let me check thing. Yes, somewhat faintly. Sort of like being in a room that has a sleeping person in it. You can kind of tell they're there, even though their presence is not the same as someone who is awake and active.
And that feels the same for when she's typically inactive, or is it a different?
When she's not in control, you usually feel her more like a caged animal when you're aware of her at all.
I'm gonna poke her. I don't know what form that'll be like, but I'm gonna try to give the cage a rattle.
That's fascinating. I am literally just gonna make a random Hand of Fate roll here.
Oh boy.
for a split second, Dosk and Romnet, you see the flicker, almost like an outline or an overlay, of what Dosk will recognize as Mavia, and Romnet will recognize as something fucking scary.
I will be stepping behind Dosk.
I step in front protectively.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is only a lightning strike's worth of image, and then it's gone. Lissa, you don't really feel Mavia come to the fore. It's almost more like somebody, well, if we're doing the analogy, somebody who's sleeping, like swatting away a rousing hand, sort of sleepily.
That's strange. I glance over and realize that both of them have clearly...
And I must emphasize this. The fuck.
My friend is sleeping. And she doesn't want to be woken up, which is very uncharacteristic of her.
Usually she jumps at the chance to contribute.
None of that is a helpful answer.
All right. At this point.
Yeah, no, just really quickly, I think my response to that would be, do you remember what I told you about what happened in Calavan?
You make it to, do you remember what I told you about? And then your eyes unfocus. And they just see you stand there kind of swaying for a moment, looking at nothing. You find your senses switched over to those of Uncle Melly. He is standing at the highest point of Lid Manor in Therret, and he is looking out at a not quite high enough angle to see in detail around the city's walls, which are more for a show of wealth and strength than in anticipation of a siege, which is unfortunate because there appears to be a siege on. And at that arbitrary breaking in point, it is about time for us to conclude this evening. So add one tally to the worrisome cliffhanger streak that we've got going on here. Though hopefully this episode feels like we made some progress more in figuring out what's going on than some of our previous ones. In the meantime, everyone can take 1 mortal XP. And our Nobilis can also receive a divine XP.
Yay!
And that will conclude this session of Dice Punks. Thanks for joining us. I hope our players and listeners enjoyed it as much as I did, and that you'll all join us again next time. If you're hearing us now, then you probably know where to listen to this, but we can be found almost any place that one can listen to podcasts, as well as on the wider web at dicepunks.com and on Twitter as @dicepunks. With that, I think we're ready to say farewell. Say goodbye to the kind folks at home, players.
Thanks for listening, and don't delve into darkness without a clear way back up.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and remember to just let hibernating bears sleep.
Thanks for listening, folks. And pay attention to when there's an echo that there shouldn't be.
Thank you all for tuning in, and as the poet once said, grab a drink because it's going to take a while to get a taste for the lie behind the smile. Oh, baby. Worship me, baby.
Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in, and stick around through the admin stuff. Romnet's got a prophecy waiting for you at the end of it. The songs in this episode, Theme of the Dice Punks and its acoustic version, were written and recorded by the Regal of Nothing himself, Drew. Cover art is by Joanne, who has appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet, where she goes by Anything Sews Embroidery. Site design and graphics for dicepunks.com are by Robin, the player behind Lissa, the irrepressible Duchess of Fury. Rain and the one-roll engine it runs on were created by Greg Stolze, whose work can be found in a frankly astonishing number of cool places, but I'll point you toward gregstolze.com. Nobilis was created by Jenna Caterin Moran and can be found alongside much of her other really intriguing work both in and outside of tabletop role-playing at afarandsunlessland.wordpress.com. Links to both systems and authors can be found on the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, well, that's a reward off on its own, really. But if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to the Dice Peaks After Show for episodes 1 and following. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, subtlety is for cowards.
More than just the time of day, there is a difference between night and darkness. Night allows for stars, for lamps, for hope. Darkness, as we know, is the Obsidian God's domain.